For 2,000 years, all this lay hidden. Then, in 1974, farmers looking for water found a few fragments of terracotta. The dig began. Today, a hall as big as an aircraft hangar shelters the results. It was an archaeological sensation. A gigantic army in clay, complete with chariots and war horses, infantry, officers and archers, drawn up in rank and file. This hall houses more than 7,000 figures. Each figure is unique. Each face shows a perfectly modeled, distinct individual. For a long time, the question no one could answer was, what was it all for? The answer turned out to be simple. The clay army guards the entrance to the imperial burial chamber. Its camp forms just a tiny part of the entire burial complex. The army's chambers lie 1.5 kilometers east of the emperor's mausoleum. The area of the mausoleum covers 2.5 square kilometers. Archaeologists believe that more than 160 underground chambers are still to be discovered, and there are no records, so no way of guessing what they contain. In this inner precinct, they know huge palaces once stood, and behind them, the mausoleum itself. The contents of the burial mound are the biggest secret of all. The emperor went to enormous lengths to ensure that no details would leak out. And for more than 2,000 years, no one has seen inside. In the year 246 BC, a 13-year-old boy ascends the throne of the small western kingdom of Qin. His name is Yin Zheng. He vows to his ancestors that he will bring the kingdom unprecedented glory and will unite all China under its flag. Prime Minister Lü Buwei and Yin's mother Zhao Ji give him their full support in this most grave of undertakings. An oath before the ancestors is sacred. But until Yin Zheng comes of age, the country must be run by the Prime Minister and the court officials. In China, 2,250 years ago, 7 kingdoms were ceaselessly vying for supremacy. Qin was spared the worst of the conflict because of its formidable natural defenses. Mountain ranges form a protective wall around the country, and in the northeast, there's the natural defense of a great waterway. The Yellow River, cradle of Chinese civilization. In 230 BC, when the king was 29, the Qin armies lined up in order of battle. The moment was well chosen. For centuries, the other kingdoms had worn each other down. Their armies were exhausted, their losses huge. Their peoples longed for peace. But Yin Zheng left nothing to chance. His was a new kind of army. It would revolutionize the art of war. And it's all recorded in the Terracotta Army. First came 3 rows of crossbowmen, the artillery of their day. Then the chariots, wheeled war machines, each drawn by 3 war horses. The officers commanded their troops from here. In their wake came the infantry, marching in ranks of 4. Their features masks of determination and pitilessness that made their living models the most feared warriors of their time. The special units flanking each chariot carried lances up to 6 meters long. In close combat, they must protect the horses at all costs from the enemy's attempts to decapitate them. But the most effective weapon is the crossbow. With a range of more than 200 meters, it sows death in the enemy's ranks without the need for hand-to-hand fighting. Chronicles tell of endless swarms of arrows darkening the sky as they arced into the enemy army. At the end of the 1970s, archaeologists found a whole arsenal of weapons next to the terracotta army. Astonishingly, they were in perfect condition, with no sign of decay. Was it something in the earth that conserved the metal, or something in the metal itself? Examinations revealed that Qin armorers perfected an anti-corrosion process that wasn't patented in Europe until 1938. Trigger mechanisms and arrows for the crossbows were manufactured in runs of tens of thousands. These massive arrowheads had fearsome penetrating power. There could be no doubting the effect they would have on enemy forces. The Qin military machine is deployed with just one aim: attack. At about this time, Rome had mustered 80,000 troops to counter the threat from Hannibal. Yin Zheng sent 1 million soldiers against his enemies. Towns are not besieged, they're stormed. Bravery is prized above all. When a Qin soldier is killed, it's up to his fellows to avenge his death. The penalty for cowardice is summary execution. Like a dog playing with a crippled hare. That's how one eyewitness described an attack by the Qin army. Yin Zheng's revolution claims more than 2 million lives. The old feudal order, with its concepts of honor and mercy, had passed into history. Qin's officers earned promotion through success on the battlefield, not through family status. Bring me the head of an enemy soldier and you will advance by 1 rank. That was the maxim by which Qin soldiers were trained, and by which they lived and fought. The honorable way to treat prisoners was now to execute them. And that meant burying them alive. If we believe the accounts, 400,000 enemy soldiers were dispatched in this way. Even today, China still can't agree whether the ends justified the means. For some, Yin Zheng is the cruelest of despots. Others see him as the father of the nation, who swept away the feudal states with a single stroke. In just 4 years, the Tiger of Qin, as he's soon called, has conquered 3 neighboring states. The fall of the Kingdom of Yen seems to be only a matter of time. Within 6 years, the remaining kingdoms are under his control. By 221 BC, China is won, under the Qin flag. Now Yinjiang decrees that no one in his empire may carry a weapon except his own soldiers. Weapons are brought to the Qin court from the far reaches of the empire. In a massive ceremony, the King of Qin is crowned Emperor of China. Now, all under one heaven will obey his word. His officials suggest he adopts the godlike title Qin Shi Huangdi, first sublime emperor of Qin. The Tiger of Qin had destroyed the old order. Yet now, he's faced with a far greater task. If he is to consolidate his power, he must build something new: unity. He unifies weights and measures by decree. This 32-kilo bronze weight is a standard measure used throughout the empire, as are these corn scoops. The words on the side threaten forgers with the death penalty. The next step is currency reform. Now only round copper coins will be legal tender, a rule that lasted until the 20th century. And finally, the written word. There are 6 different pictograms for horse. Under Qin, there is just one. It may look like common sense. In fact, it's a revolutionary break with Chinese tradition. The aim of calligraphy had been to attain a harmonious union of body and spirit. Writing was a spiritual exercise, a way to a higher goal. But under Qin, writing is reduced to a tool, serving the efficient administration of the empire. Unity is the leading idea in every aspect of life. Everything must be the same, everywhere. The Zhonnu, nomads of the steppes, are a serious threat to the first emperor's perfect new world. They ride into the northern provinces, plunder the grain reserves, and retreat, leaving a trail of destruction. The mighty armies of the empire are powerless against such mobile warriors. A different solution, another gigantic demonstration of power, is called for. The individual kingdoms had long built barriers to keep out the invaders. Qin extended them into the greatest defensive barrier the world has ever seen, the Great Wall. Remains of the 2,000-year-old structure can still be seen. The ramparts and towers are built mainly of rammed earth, lined with stone blocks. The wall stretches across the landscape for more than 5,000 kilometers, a giant dragon guarding the northern frontier. We're told the wall took only 15 years to build, but Qin's subjects paid the price. Compulsory work details were extended. Taxes went up 20 times. If you didn't pay the taxes, you were condemned to slave labor. But even this couldn't satisfy the huge need for workers for the emperor's projects. slave workers were branded with the mark of the criminal. Escape became pointless. The shame was permanently written on their faces. These draconian laws come from this man's pen. Li Se, now Qin's closest advisor. Li Se knows how to rule through terror. If you rule with punishments, the people will be afraid, and because they are afraid, they will commit no crimes. The officials and soldiers bring fear into every corner of the empire, extorting taxes and arresting those who can't pay or who try to escape the work details. The Hubei Museum in Wuhan province has a collection of laws from the First Empire. They come from the tomb of a justice official who died in 217 BC. More than 500 bamboo strips make it clear how directly the state regulated the lives of its subjects. The penalty for stealing mulberry leaves was 30 days forced labor. You could be beaten for wearing embroidered shoes. Anyone who praised the bravery of foreign soldiers would be beheaded. This sort of regulatory craze is known as legalism. Ritual order was based on the teachings of Confucius. He taught that a ruler should persuade with wisdom and moral power, not rule through force and cruelty. Qin ordered that all of Confucius' writings and every history book be destroyed. The past must be expunged from the nation's consciousness. But beyond the printed word, the emperor feared what was in men's minds. He found a reason to arrest and execute 460 scholars. A crime that more than all others has remained seared in the nation's memory. There is no place for criticism in this empire. Dissenters are executed and put on public display. But the ghostly calm achieved through state terror is deceptive. The emperor has asked too much of his people. Too much wrong has been done. Too much blood has flowed. In every province of the empire, there are uprisings. For now, the army is able to put them down. But as soon as unrest is quelled in one region, it bursts out in another. The Tiger of Qin cannot trust his own people. He withdraws in fear to his palace. In 210 BC, the funeral of China's first emperor. A mighty procession accompanies him to the shadow world, an eternal life in an empire of clay, surrounded by all his possessions. His death meant the end of an era, but his works have lived for millennia. As in the Qin Empire, China is still ruled by a centralized bureaucratic state. It may be changing slowly, but conformity and obedience are still the prime virtues. The individual counts for nothing. More than 200 sons of heaven followed Qin on the dragon throne. All of them dictators, all of them aloof from the people. On the orders of the new emperor, all Qin's concubines who had borne him no children must follow their lord into the tomb. Their then the doors were sealed forever. To reconstruct the burial chamber, archaeologists still depend on the chronicle of Sima Qian. A single tunnel leads to his palace. From the arched ceiling, stars twinkle, illuminated by the glimmer of oil lamps along the walls. The emperor lies in the center of his realm, surrounded by rivers and lakes of mercury. It is a portrait of his claim to universal power, even after death.